Hey, everybody on TikTok, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, and welcome everyone on YouTube. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. If you're having any trouble hearing or seeing me on TikTok, switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Vice versa, if you guys are having any trouble hearing or seeing me on YouTube, switch over to TikTok at Ask Ivy. TikTok, we're a little bit crooked tonight. I broke my ring light, so we're just going to sort of deal with it. If you guys have any prayer or healing requests, I want you to start posting them. Now we'll be getting to them more toward the end of the service. Donations are always appreciated. If you guys could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, always appreciated as well. All right, here we go. We've got YouTube running. And if I could just get a thumbs up from everyone that my audio video is good, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, thank you so much. So while we wait for a few people to tune in, I want to make a couple quick announcements. Our May 28th Psychic Fair and Supernatural Tours is now open for business. So wherever you are in the world, from the comfort of your own home, you can book a reading or a healing with one of our amazing light workers. And if you want to come in person, the event is May 28th, and you can do that. But if you want to reserve your reader or healer ahead of time, that may be wise. We expect it to be a very busy event. It is also the same day as the launch of our Supernatural Tours. So we are booking up in groups of 12 for those. Pretty amazing. This old 1800s Victorian funeral home, we're going to open it up to the public so you guys can do your paranormal investigations. We're also doing tours that day so people could just walk through. If you just independently want to come and get a tour of the new headquarters here at the Ivy League, you could check that out. Okay, so May 28th is our upcoming Psychic Fair and Supernatural Tours. Book ahead. I strongly recommend it. Everything is first come, first serve. All right, looks like we're doing well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where we train people internationally in spiritual development of all kinds. What you guys are catching here tonight is our Sunday service, Roots Revival Interfaith, with my beautiful pastors, Reverend Danny Johnson, our numerologist, and Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer. Now, our belief system here at Roots Revival Interfaith is that the three truths of the universe, that's intuition, right? Your psychic, mediumistic, and empathic ability, as well as astrology and numerology, come together beautifully. And they lead you, guide you to stay on your life path, but they also, these wisdoms in the universe also help you to heal and ultimately to go out and heal others. If you want to check out some of our old services, we have many. So you go onto YouTube at Ask Ivy, up in the playlist under Roots Revival Interfaith. And if you're the kind of person who likes to listen on the go, anywhere that you could download a podcast, you can also listen to our previous sermons. Today, we are talking about aging and spirituality. How are my reverends?
Wonderful. How are you? Grateful.
Good.
Doing awesome.
Okay, very good. So we are going to be talking about aging and spirituality. I'll go first, and then I'll be passing this over to Reverend Christina or Reverend Danny, whoever wants to go next. After that, we'll be taking your questions and your comments. So we're an interactive church. We want you guys to let us know if you want more information on something we're discussing here today, or if you have some type of a supportive comment to make. We do appreciate, because we are all learning from each other in community. Again, if you just tuned in late, we are taking prayer and healing requests a bit later on in the service. So go ahead and post those. Donations are always appreciated, and please do give this video a thumbs up. So I believe that Spirit led me to talk about this because we're approaching a point in our society, especially here in America, but I believe everywhere, where we're realizing that we lose a sense of value so rapidly and under such harsh circumstances when we hit a certain age. And this is mostly women who are targeted through the patriarchy, targeted through capitalism, but it's really everybody to some degree. And what Spirit was putting on my heart was that this is a great opportunity to talk about the positive aspects of aging that never seem to get discussed, and to take a deeper look at how we can use these positives to strengthen ourselves going forward and find more value in the process that we're going through. Now, I did a class on this recently, and I talked a lot about grasscophobia. Grasscophobia is the fear of aging, and this can happen at any age. So tonight is not just for those of you that are actually in the aging process, even though technically we are all in the aging process from the time we're born. Now, grasscophobia, the fear of aging, is debilitating. And again, this can happen when you're in your teens, your 20s, your 50s. You just don't really know when it's going to come to a head. And if you want more information on that, you can go in the playlist under mini classes and look for a class called Aging and Spirituality. But today, what I really wanted to break down here are a couple different spiritual aspects to the aging process that make you so much more powerful and developed than you ever were. So I want to go first to the biblical removal, let's say, of some pertinent information. So in the Old Testament, there were training books in Solomon for the seers, the mediums, the light workers, the psychics, the prophets. And while we are embracing a bit more in certain churches and denominations, prophets coming back into the church once a month and delivering out messages from Spirit or giving out healings, it is still nowhere near where it was ever meant to be. And when they removed the training manuals from the Old Testament, they were able to, in the New Testament, put psychics and prophets and mediums with devil worshippers and rapists and criminals and murderers. It's a terrible injustice that's never been corrected. And what we do know about those old books was that we were only able to train at 40 years old. So the younger seers and healers and mediums that came into the church, let's say, they were watched very carefully, and they were eventually taken in by the elders to train. But you had to have a certain amount of life experience. You had to have a certain amount of knowledge. And, during those times, that would have been considered very, very old. But it's not unlike the native system in most of our indigenous tribes, native tribes, where in order to be an elder, you have to have a significant amount of age and experience under you that just comes from time itself. So it's a highly respected position that's been wiped out. Now, I also want to talk about just something real basic here. Okay, so physiologically, psychologically, when we hit 25 to 27 years old, the prefrontal cortex of our brain finishes developing. We would say that this is helping with judgment. And so for those of you who are in your 30s now, you may be looking back at your 20s and wondering what the heck you were doing the whole time. What were you thinking that whole time? Can I get any testimony here from people? Do you look back at your 20s and wonder where your head even was? We look like adults. We're told we're adults. We're given opportunities to do very adult things, but we're not ready for those things until we are fully developed, and we can get ourselves into a lot of predicaments that are hard to get back out of. So this is part of the aging process also that I think we need to celebrate more. 25 to 27, I feel like we really start to become who we truly are. Now, I also want to touch on intuitive increases. For those of you that follow me here on TikTok or YouTube, you know I talk about this quite a lot. There are different time periods in our lives where we'll see a bout of intuition increase that can be disruptive, but I really believe it's something to learn to manage and to celebrate for sure. Now, we see these mostly when we're younger. 3 years old, we have a major increase. Children become mediums at that age. You'll see a baby talking to spirits in the room or talking to orbs. They'll start to talk to pictures of ancestors, and they'll know their names, even people they've never met in their family, but who are around them, supporting them in spirit. Then we see this again at 5 to 6 years old. Then we see it at 14 to 16 years old. We see another increase around 27, and we have a big one between 48 and 52. These are definitely things in the aging process that we want to embrace and celebrate. We also have to be realistic that they can be disruptive and that some of the struggles you may be having with the aging process or in life in general can come from your energy being overwhelmed or off balance because of this. But between 48 and 52, I find that so many of my students are ready for the first time in their lives to become light workers, to be of service to spirit in a real significant way. And often around that time, they decide that they're leaving old ways of life that no longer work for them. They may divorce. They may go and embark on a brand new career for themselves. They may relocate, but they basically shed what no longer serves. And they stop living any kind of a lie that they were comfortable living before that. And the universe is highly supportive of this. So it is an exciting time. And when your psychic ability, your mediumistic ability, your empathic abilities increase, you have to understand that the changes that you want to make are so powerful within you that you feel it in your bones, you feel it in your gut, you feel it in your higher mind. It is undeniable. And you may take risks that you were never willing to take in the past and step out in blind faith, and you should. So it's definitely something else we want to embrace. I'm going to switch this over to Reverend Danny or Reverend Christina here in just a second. But one more thing I think is so important for us to focus on with our spiritual development and the aging process. And that is that in Native communities, we take so much pride in our elders. We don't see these as old, useless, dispensable people that are just hogging up resources and taking up space, that are useless to us. They're invaluable players in the wisdom and the power of the universe. And they are I want to say that these people are capable of taking the younger generations further than even, younger people that they may find more relatable in a lot of ways. So as we get older and we tap into more truths in the universe and spirit is working and channeling through us more, we are more capable of connecting with people from all walks of life and all different ages. And that's really what we need, is we need to take the younger generations and prep them with the elders for, the revolution that's going on, for the enlightenment and the spreading of universal truth. So what we are supposed to be focusing on right now, 2022, universally, I believe, is more empowerment coming to women, more empowerment coming to natives and other minorities and marginalized, and a revolutionary mentality in regard to the aging process itself, to start to treat it with some respect and value, as many tribes have always known that it actually is, and to put that power back in the hands of the people. All right, so go ahead, you guys, posting any questions, comments, prayer, and healing requests. I do want to switch this over to Reverend Danny or Reverend Christina, whoever wants to go next.
I'll pop in. I'm grateful that we all have the chance to reflect on this particular topic, because it does hit home regardless of age, because whether or not we are actually living in it or if we are anticipating what life will look like as we get a little bit older, it resonates. With regard to when connecting with spirit, when asking about like spirituality and aging, the thing about like lived experience is something that is invaluable, even when it comes to spirituality. And that when I was younger, it's interesting how it's like spirit has us watch something and see something when we're younger and then recalls it years later. So I remember maybe 17 years ago, I was watching when Oprah, now Oprah's not the be all and end all. She's phenomenal, but she's not the be all and end all. The thing is, I do remember when she had her show, she would have this after show. And the after show was when she would have dialogue with her audience. And there was a woman who was 28 years old who stood up and said, Oprah, I know that all of my friends seem to have everything together. They seem to know what's going on. I'm 28. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to figure out my life and everything just seems up in the air and I don't know what's going on. And Oprah said, God bless you, child, because there's no amount of money in the world that could ever make me go back to my 20s. It was horrific time. She said she was learning boundaries, figuring out who she was, learning self-love, and trying to find her way in the world. And she said that there's no way in the world that at 28 that anyone has ever expected to know what is coming and how to figure things out. So when we are younger, there's a lot of pressure put on us to have things figured out. And I think you posted a meme, something like that, Reverend Pastor Ivy, on your Facebook page, something to the effect of students or young folks are expected to make decisions, these life decisions, when just yesterday they were asking permission to use the bathroom, which is so real.
Right, that we're pushing student loans on them and we're getting them to enroll in college, but they just had to raise their hand as to go pee.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. It's a con. It's a con. Yeah,
it really is. And given credit card applications, just here, go ahead. It's plastic. It's just it's a lot. And that is, once we have the chance to grow a bit older and get a bit older, we realize how we had it together much more than we thought that we had, and we weren't expected to know more than we were supposed to at that particular time. And myself as well, my 20s feels like a lifetime away from where I am right now. And the numbers even kind of like correlate with that too. Another reason why, in terms of like aging and spirituality, how when we get older and things just start to make sense and things just feel a bit more settled, is because as we get older, the folks who we are some of the folks who we're closest to are the ones who end up transitioning. And Pastor Ivy, when you were describing how, like spiritual elevation, how whether it be our parents, our grandparents, folks who raised us, folks who we're close to, when they start crossing over and becoming ancestors, that is when some of our barriers and the blocks that we may have had with regard to connecting with spirit and trusting start to crumble. And we start to realize, okay, there's more than just what's in front of us. There's more than just what we can feel, see, touch, and experience here in this earthly world. And that is both, it's a painful experience, but it also is a gift as well, because we then begin to realize that there's so much more to life than what we may have and given it credit for. And with also, as we get older, we have you kind of spoke to this as well. We get to this place where we have had the chance to unlearn and let go of the things that we've been taught that really no longer serve us, whether it be with regard to religious institutions, whether it be with regard to some ways of thinking, ways of being, values that probably never even made sense to us when we were younger. But it's like, okay, I trust my people. I trust the adults who are around me, and they must know more than me. But then as we get older, we then begin to realize, well, wait a minute. My gut was speaking to me back then, and my gut is still speaking to me now. And what I was told was not right. And that gives us the chance to be able to shed those thoughts and feelings and allow for us to grow into who we authentically are. And it's interesting because as we grow older, some of the folks who we either were raised by or were cared for or were close with, they can grow as well. And when we speak up, that then gives them permission to get out of their own way and let go of beliefs and thoughts and feelings that may have been passed down to them that really may have made no sense, but they may not have necessarily been given the unspoken permission to let them go. So that is like a really beautiful kind of byproduct of the aging process. And then also, I know what we have, and we are grateful to have members of our root survival community who are atheist, who are agnostic, who might somewhat believe in the presence of a God, or who might also walk dual or multiple religious paths, who might identify as Christian or Jewish or Sikh or how Buddhist, however you might identify. But specifically when it comes to like faith development, one of the things that we are able to do, and I'll speak and though I'm speaking from the perspective of Christianity, this is by no means the most significant religion, not at all. It's just from my own lived experience, but we make space for everyone. We're a multi-religious community. The thing is, when it comes to Christianity, there is such thing. There was a pastor who spoke to me about this concept of matured faith, like growing in maturity in your faith. And growing in maturity in your faith is to not to have blind faith, but to question and ask questions of God and ask questions of the Bible and push back on doctrine. And he actually said, growth in faith is not just accepting what is. Growth in faith is sitting down with God and saying, God, I love you, but your people wrote things that don't make sense. Let's talk about this. And that is making space for and allowing for God to come in and make sense of what we're reading is an act of faith as well. And the thing is, and part of my own faith and growth, faith development, is that Jesus was a mystic. Jesus was completely a mystic. I bet you Jesus sat with the mediums. Jesus probably sat with the mediums and didn't take a step before sitting down with a seer. I am wholeheartedly, I believe it, I feel it in my heart. He probably tipped well. He was, and I feel it in my soul, like he was. And in the same way that, I know we're speaking specifically in terms of aging and spirituality, but this same Jesus that is often heralded as this, meek, mild-mannered person who flipped tables and upon his resurrection revealed himself to the person who, though she very likely was not a prostitute, very well could have been. Mary Magdalene was the person he trusted most and pushed back on patriarchy in so many ways. And this is being able to accept and feel and embrace spirituality in this way is a part of growth as well as part of the aging process, and doing so without fearing the wrath of God coming down upon us. Like, we can ask questions and stand in our truth and know that we are loved without fear of repercussion in that way, and knowing that we are still held. With regard to the numerology, so the numerology really is with us when it comes to the aging process. There are a few numbers that really affirm for us and show up for us when as we get older. So one of them, and it's one of my favorite, is the maturity number. So our maturity number, there are numbers in numerology that are calculated by our date of birth. There are other numbers that are calculated by the name we are given at birth, and each letter in our name carries a different numeric energy. And our maturity number is essentially the combination of our life path number and our expression number. In a numerology, our life path number describes the path that we walk, and our expression number describes the soul walking the path. So our maturity number literally is a combination of these two numbers, and it is designed by design. And like the way that the numbers always, one of the things I love about numerology is it's a reminder that God knows exactly who we are. It's almost kind of like our, in the same way as astrology, it is our numerological thumbprint. It's like our fingerprint. It's like no two are the same. And literally between the ages of 30 to 35, just in perfect order, this extra bit of energy emerges for us, this maturity number. And this number emerges for us as we grow, as we're designed to grow into who we are meant to be. And as Pastor Ivy, as you described, there are certain lessons in life that we are meant to learn at a certain age. There are certain things that we're not meant to know up until a certain point. And that numeric energy is saved for us just at that perfect time when God knows that we are meant to grow into certain lessons. And the maturity number, ironically, really correlates with life contracts. And Pastor Ivy, you teach us about life contracts and mediumship training and the work that we promised God that we would do before we got here that is designed to that we aren't meant to fulfill until a certain time period. That maturity number, the energy of the maturity number bubbles up for us at that time. And just giving a quick example for myself, my life path number is 1, which is that number of like, push forward, get the work done, or at least try to get the work done, and being steadfast in that way. And then number 5 is my expression number, which is freedom and liberation, and, being able to chart my own course in that way. Now, interestingly, my maturity number is 6. So growing up, I was that kid where, I don't want to overgeneralize when it comes to women or people who are, whether cis or transgender, who identify as women. But sometimes as young girls, we are conditioned, there's this kind of space where it's like, well, young girls fantasize about their wedding and it's fantasize about getting married and all that stuff. And that was never me. I was that girl who was I just want to be smart, because I hear how the adults talk about the ones who aren't very smart. I just want to be a smart adult and have some common sense, and I want to travel. That was me when I was younger. That was complete. And that wasn't a part of who I was. It wasn't until 30 to 35 that my maturity number is 6, and that's the number of love and relationships and community and family. And that really resonated when it came to the community, the social justice work that I've had the chance to become involved with, that I've had the chance to be in spaces with Pastor Ivy and with Reverend Christina. And it's interesting because that's how it resonated. And my appreciation for relationships elevated around 30, it was more like 36, 37, I was a little bit of a late bloomer, but still around that time, that was when I really developed a sense of understanding of the importance of community relationships and that energy. And so it was no coincidence at all. And then when it comes to also, there are certain numbers that are a numeric energy that's designed to bubble up for us with regard to period cycle numbers and pinnacle cycle numbers. So period cycle numbers, these are the numbers that numeric energy that emerges for us at certain time periods that helps us to grow into who we're meant to be. Like it's almost kind of like a flower, and at a particular flower is designed to have purple and green and maybe some yellow. And depending upon the time frame, there's a time for everything. And that numeric energy emerges for us when it is designed to. So there is numeric energy between, like, depending upon a person's life path number is determines when this energy emerges. But you get there, that's in a sense kind of like why there are people who might feel as though they've lived multiple lives in one lifetime and feel like different people in one lifetime, because there's such different energy throughout a person's life. And also pinnacle cycle numbers, which are designed to help a person that's like the rise to the occasion number. Those are the numbers that help us. And these numbers are also very much correlated to life contracts as well, because if at a certain age, if a person is meant to fulfill certain work, there is a numeric energy that just almost meets us on our path, meets us along the way to make sure that we are able to fulfill the work that we're meant to do. So it's really interesting the ways that the numbers show up for us in that way. And as we grow, and as we let go of the things that create barriers between ourselves and our ability and our willingness to trust spirit, when the angels send us numbers, when the ancestors send us numbers, as we get older, they become less coincidental and more messages and answers to prayers, and a reminder to us that we are held at all moments, at all points. That's what spirit.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. There's so much to know about your numerology. There's so much to know about your astrology, and there's so much to know about your life contract. It's always amazing to me that we don't practice each other's crafts a ton. Like I would definitely recommend, if you have questions about your numbers, your planets, you go to Reverend Danny or Reverend Christina instead of coming to me. But it's amazing that no matter how we come at our work, they all match. It's the same information psychically, right? Numerologically, astrologically. It's always identical. So it really is quite phenomenal. And I see a bunch of you in the comment section asking, oh, well, what are my numbers and this and that? And we're not going to be doing that today. But Danny does have a numerology class that's running right now currently. So you can go up onto the website that's in the description and find out more about that. But thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to comment real quick before we switch over here to Reverend Christina, our astrologer. Reverend Danny, when you're talking about how we are supposed to test our faith, it really isn't blind faith. It really isn't, even in the Christian faith, right? Where there is so much hierarchy and sort of reverence up, to the Pope or the priests, whatever it is. There is a lot in the Bible about testing your faith. We're never asked, I don't believe in most faiths, to just jump in without paying any attention whatsoever. And it is that testing that helps us to strengthen our faith when we do need to step out and we don't have all the answers. And I thought it was very interesting. I recently saw a study that said something like 63% of the younger generations have rejected their parents' faith and religion and are turning toward astrology and mediumship and numerology because they have found that when they went to go test their parents' faith, they got nothing out of it. And when they wanted healing and they were told that was the way, they got nothing out of it. And when they wanted acceptance and a place to grow and find community, they were rejected. And when they turned to astrology and numerology and psychic ability and mediumship, they found a home. And that is a huge number, 63%. This is very exciting. This is the revolution. Reverend Danny, what were you going to say?
Oh, just co-signing. Absolutely. This absolutely is the revolution, and giving folks a place and a reminder that they are still held no matter what.
They are held by the universe. Yeah, we are held. I love that. Yeah, this is the awakening. Amazing time to be here. And Reverend Christina, what did you want to say about this? Also, if you guys are tuning in a little bit late, we encourage you to leave your prayer and healing requests in the comment section now. We're going to be getting to them in a little bit. We are also taking your questions or comments on this topic today. We are an interactive church, so post.
Well, being the most elder person on the panel here, I definitely don't have it all figured out. However, I do enjoy being older in the fact that I have a lot more wisdom than I had when I was younger. And I remember, just like Danny, and maybe it's a Leo thing, but I remember thinking, I want to be smart. I want to know things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be dumb, I guess. Like, I always thought that, like, I was always like a knowledge seeker, and I wanted to, learn what I wanted to learn. I didn't necessarily learn what was being taught. So now I feel like I do have some wisdom to share, but I also recognize that other people have wisdom to share. And sometimes I'm reminded that I need to listen to other people's wisdom as well. But one thing that I find really important with aging is to keep young people around you as mentors, because I don't know, like think about the older people that you know, the elderly people that you know, and there are some who there's one way to do something, and that is the only way, and they can't hear anything else, and it's the truth for them, and there is no other truth, and it's because their parent taught them that way, so that's the only truth that exists. And you don't want to become that when you're an elder. You want to keep those young people around you so that um, you can learn from them and they can learn from you. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's balancing things out. So it's important not only for, young people to have mentors, but also for older people to have younger mentors as well. And keeping flexible as well, that there's more than one truth. There's more than one way to do things. And Danny was talking about questioning faith. And, if you meet somebody who has all the answers, run because no one has all the answers. So, that's a clear red flag there if they think that there's no questioning that needs to go on, because that is part of the human process. And that is part of the faith process, is to question and to ask for signs and all those things. In astrology, we have many cycles throughout life because, like Ivy said, we have a life contract, and life is going to, you have free will to a certain point, and life is going to keep checking in with you to see if you're following your contract and how far off the path you have wandered. And we have the North Node and the South Node are about, what you came into this life with, what you're going to learn in this life, and your mission in this life. And some people achieve their mission and some people don't, but the universe is going to keep cycling so that it can try to push you on that path. And we all have nodes, so we all have nodal returns. So we have the nodal return happens at 18, 37, 55, and 74. And what this is really like a kind of a fulfillment cycle where, what it kind of culminates into a reward of some kind. But the real ones that are the check-ins are the opposition and the square. So the squares remind you that you have a life purpose and that you need to be going towards that. So those ages are 4, 13, 23, 32, 41, 51, 60, and 69. So it's not like you can't escape it. Something will come up where there's tension to push you towards what you're supposed to be learning. And sometimes what you think you want to learn and what you're supposed to be learning are completely different. And depending on how much you follow your intuition and how much you listen to spirit. So, and I can remember doing that. I can remember thinking I wanted to do something that was not in alignment with my contract and it not working out. There's a reason why these things don't work out. But the opposition, which is the one I just went through, those numbers are age 9, age 27, age 46, 65, and 83. Now, this is one that's a real awakener, because if you are on the wrong path, what happens is the universe throws you right off of it and says, nope, you're going in the wrong direction. So things just kind of get wiped out and you got to go back to where you're supposed to be. So if anybody's experiencing that, once everything kind of falls into place, you feel better because you're on the right track again. We also have in astrology, we don't even consider you an adult until you've had your Saturn return, and that doesn't happen until 2830. So you're not even really considered an adult. And the Saturn return is a check-in. It's where you have to become responsible. During my Saturn return, I had my first child. So, there's something there that happens that's saying, okay, you know what, you have to listen up. You have to become a responsible adult. And it's a hard time, but if you're on the right track, there are great rewards to come. And every 7 years, Saturn is going to make an angle to your sun, and it's going to, or to where Saturn was. So Saturn will square Saturn every 7 years, then it will conjunct, and it opposes. So it's always these check-ins, right? So your Saturn, but the big one that everybody talks about is the Saturn return and the second Saturn return. So the second Saturn return is around age 56. And this tends to be like a, you're starting to like regret can set in at this point, because you're done with the first half of life. There's only so much time left. And you kind of look back at what I coulda, shoulda done. And if you're younger than that right now, you should be trying everything you want to try, and not, even if it doesn't work, you just want to have the experience so that you don't have the regret later. And it's like acceptance for what you did, but also what you didn't do. And, you're entering a different phase. You're no longer in adulthood. Like, you're kind of like transitioning more towards elderhood. And you deal with any regrets, you move on. You have to be kind of gentle with yourself around that time, because it is a time that can be sort of depressing, because Saturn, has somewhat of a block. But you also, when you come to self-acceptance, you realize that you can work towards something, fulfilling as well. We also have the Uranus opposition when you are around 48 years old. And this is the astrological midlife crisis. And a lot of times what happens is, you're kind of on that path again. And if you're not on the right path, you're going to want to break free from that path. So, you could totally do something to break through. It's kind of like, it's either a breakthrough or a breakdown. So you can break down during the Uranus opposition, or you could have major breakthroughs in your career and in your status. So if you've been, it depends on how you've been handling, where you're supposed to be going, as opposed to where society is telling you where to go. And you also have so Uranus takes 84 years to return, and not many people make it to their Uranus return, but Betty White made it to hers. And, we have Uranus cycles, and this is kind of like, this is one of the reasons why, how like older people just don't care anymore. They just kind of say what they want to say because they feel more free. Like we're more restricted. But when Uranus comes, and, you think about Betty White, she didn't hold back, right? She just kind of said what was on her mind. When she had her Uranus return, she was back in the spotlight doing Hot in Cleveland, which was kind of, risque. And and she was, free, like had experienced a new freedom. So, if we are blessed and in good health at our Uranus return, that could kind of be fun. But the Saturn opposition to 14, 20, or 14, 42, 70, 98, checking in with yourself, seeing what you've done. Have you grown up? Have you claimed maturity? Have you acted maturely? So, Saturn doesn't go away in our chart. Saturn is where we have the most lessons to learn and the most work to do. So these life cycles are check-ins, and we all have them, but they affect us all differently, depending on where we are in life spiritually, and just, whatever has happened to us. So it's all different levels, but you can count on these cycles. It's just how will they play out in your life. And that's why it's really good to know your numerology and your astrology, because you're like, okay, this is coming. I don't want to have any regrets. I'm going to do this. So.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Christina. So I think it's so important too, after listening to the different like planetary shifts and ages and stuff that she brought up, that we have to remember it's not like a lottery aspect. It's not like, oh, this is coming. Christina and I obsessively talk about free will and karma, right? Like all roads lead back to free will and karma. And it's something we have to realize that these are great opportunities, these planetary shifts, these numbers in your chart, whatever pivotal point, is coming up, but there's going to be an exit. In order for a new door to open, another door has to shut. Every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. There's going to be a detoxing. There's going to be a clearing. Nobody's perfect or you wouldn't be here on earth. So we have to embrace both. And I just appreciate that you brought that up. That there will be a leveling up if you do it, if you do the work. And if you haven't been, even if you have been, there's always a tweaking process. There's always a cleansing, that has to go along with that. We don't want to label that as bad. It's good.
And I think, and I didn't really discuss the more prosperous cycles too, because there are prosperous cycles, the trines, the sextiles, and those are all great, especially if you put your work in, Saturn trine is great if you put your work in. So those are payoff cycles. But what do we tend to notice more? We tend to notice the challenging cycles more. So.
Wesley Rushing just posted flipping Saturn.
That's
what I was thinking the whole time you were talking about Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn, it's the it's the planet of reality. It's the earthly experience. We can't escape it.
That's too bad. So, all right. So we are going to move on to questions and comments here. I know we are approaching our 1 hour mark rather quickly, and I know we could talk on this topic for a long time. Also, if you guys have not posted your prayer and healing requests, now is the time. Our beautiful producer, Destiny, behind the scenes here, if you could start popping up the questions and comments. And once I say them, you could take it down and put up the next one. I do want to address a negative Nancy who popped on here, Athenia, who was saying, sounds like an admission of failure to me. She was saying, I don't know anything about contracts, but I don't believe. And what you're talking about is a form of slavery. And it's too late for me to go back now and fix it. Well, then just admit that you didn't do what you were supposed to. It's too late for you to go back now. Contracts are not a form of slavery. It's something you signed on to before you came to Earth. We have a purpose for being here, and there's nothing negative about that. So don't take on a negative attitude. You could be using your weakness and alchemizing it into a place of power to help others and encourage others to finish their life contract instead of acting like it's a form of slavery. All right, so let's look at Jill Marie. I've always struggled with the idea of aging and becoming irrelevant. Turning 45 soon, and oddly, I've felt more grounded and at home with myself than ever. The three of you have a lot to do with that. Thank you so much. That is so refreshing to hear. And I will say personally at 42, Jill, I feel the same way, and I have Grasscophobia. So becoming older and worrying about all the things that can come along with that has caused so much chronic anxiety. But I am surprised every year, especially as I'm getting into my 40s, how much more comfortable I am with the accomplishments that I've made and how comfortable I am in my own skin. And it's almost like a rerouting of your focus, so thank you for bringing that up. We really do have to focus on the good parts of it actively. We have to try.
I really appreciate, Jill's comment, because same. When we were younger and we thought about 40, 45, we thought, when that time comes, here we are. And there is something really beautiful about it. And us being able to share it with each other is phenomenal. It's interesting how it's like how we see ourselves is very different than how others might see us. So us having community is just, especially as women, is so important to remind us that we are right where we are meant to be. And so grateful for her.
I love being comfortable in my skin because I never was before. So that to me is an accomplishment that I do love about being older.
Right on. Danielle Rose says they slandered Mary Magdalene's name because she was a free woman, not married at her age and spiritually powerful. And they didn't want to have any women with spiritual authority. 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. When, I'm so sorry, when Mary Magdalene often reminds me of the Queen of Pentacles because she very likely was a businesswoman and likely came from affluence and didn't apologize for who she was. So thank you for that comment.
Right on. We have one from Shannon Anderson. I'm 50 years young and starting a new journey. I'm truly thankful for you three lovely ladies and souls for doing shows like this. Well, that's super exciting. Enjoy your 50s. And I think I think it's so great that more women are coming to the forefront and being visible and more audible, about that, because we really don't, especially in like our media, there's no representation. And so keep singing, sisters. For sure.
That is lovely that you're starting a new journey and you're literally 50 years young. That is like when we start something new, we can literally start as though we are though we are children, and excited for you.
Okay, I think we lost Destiny to the pervert who's posting disgusting comments. Where's Destiny? Oh, there she is. Okay. So if we are at the end of our questions and comments, then Destiny, we are going to move on to prayer and healing requests. But if there are any more, please do pop them up at this time. All right. And again, if you guys have not, okay, please do give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. Donations are always appreciated. And we are going to move on to your prayer and healing requests at this time. And I want to invite you guys to stay, even if you don't have a prayer request for yourself. Please support your fellow brothers and sisters here. The more we come together collectively, the more powerful the manifestation always is. Okay. Holy Spirit, we thank you for being with us today. We thank you for being with us always and encouraging us on the right path. We thank the universe for always giving us the support, the love, the direction that we need. And I ask that everyone tuning in now and later listening to this have the courage, the wisdom, the sight to notice the signs and symbols all around them, to stay on the right path, to get healing in the areas where they need it, and ultimately to go out and heal others. And we are going to take a prayer request here from a Jill Marie. Okay. Prayers of the Tagat and Malink families and school community who lost their children to a horrible car accident this past week. Okay, prayers over those families. Please help them to have the peace that they need to get through these terrible times and to feel the spirits of their loved ones, these children who passed in these accidents. Please help the communication from the other side, the mediumship, to be strong in these families and undeniable. Okay, Destiny, I did not see the first prayer request that was up, or did I? Okay, or that may be the end of the prayer request. Okay, so anything additional, Reverend Danny or Reverend Christina, that you wanted to add to this?
I'd like to ask for prayers, please, for Nancy, Nancy Rosas, whose brother whose brother in I believe he's in Panama, is battling COVID and a bad case of it, and was taken back to the hospital with lung issues. So prayers for Nancy and her family.
Amen. We do have one from Danielle Rose. May I please get prayers for my mother to get sober and leave an abusive relationship? Okay, prayers over her mother to find the strength and the courage to make the changes that she needs to make. Please help her see that the universe is supporting her and supplying her with all the help that she needs.
I just want to say prayers for the people in the Ukraine and anybody involved.
Amen. And we have another one from Vanessa Dempsey for her health to continue to improve. Okay, just asking for continuation of healing and the faith that she needs to keep her mindset focused on positivity and where she's going, not where she's been. Okay, and I do believe that those are the end of our prayer and healing requests. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in with us. Always beautiful to have you for another Sunday service. We are here every Sunday on TikTok and YouTube at Ask Ivy, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Roots Revival Interfaith. And if you enjoyed some of the topics from tonight, you want to go back and listen to old sermons, you can do that here on YouTube in the playlist under Roots Revival Interfaith, or if you like to listen on the go, anywhere that you can download a podcast. Thank you, Reverend Danny. Thank you, Reverend Christina. And thank you, Destiny, our producer.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you.
You too.
See you next week.
Thank you, Spirit. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.